Star jokes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hello, and thank you for joining us at the Children's Media Conference panel that you have all been waiting for, the VOD Commissioner Conversations. I'm going to be your host, Tiernan Douieb, and I am mainly the exhausted dad of a toddler, but I am also a writer and stand-up comedian, or at least I was, until COVID made shouting at people in unventilated rooms the least friendly job possible. Who knew? I'm the co-director of Comedy Club for Kids, where we do stand-up all over the world for children aged 6+, and I'm currently writing for Studio AKA's Hey Dougie, which is very exciting, but I'm certain that my 3-year-old daughter will stop liking that show about a week before my first episode comes out, because that is how children work. Anyway, you don't want to hear from me. You want to hear what the commissioners be commissioning. So I'm going to be asking them all the important questions, and you will get a chance to ask a few too. But first, we are very grateful to the sponsor of this session, 9 Story. Without the backing of over 70 companies like 9 Story supporting the Children's Media Conference, we couldn't bring you the amazing programme of sessions that's the hallmark of CMC. So very big thanks to 9 Story. Also, a bit of admin, there are speed meetings associated with this session, and they are in Zoom and start at 3:30. But you need to have speed registered at 9 a.m. this morning. So if you haven't already booked in, please don't try to virtually speed gate crash, or you'll be speedily frowned upon. Because of those speed meetings, there is no follow-up chat in Wonder after this session, but I can recommend some video follow-up chats that start as soon as this finishes at 3 p.m. One is your chance to talk to speakers and producers who've made content for the Inclusivity Now strand, and the other features the speakers in our future gazing video, Playing Catch with a Crystal Ball. Both are worth dropping into. I probably shouldn't use the word dropping for the Playing Catch with a Crystal Ball one. Sorry. So the link to Wonder, if you haven't already found it, is way at the bottom of the session description page. And do stay tuned at the very end to hear from a young entrepreneur who is our very, very inspiring change maker for this session. I've watched it earlier and it is brilliant. Okay, here we go. In this live session, we are going to be talking to the lovely panelists, Lucy Murphy, who is the Director of Kids Content at Sky Kids, Alexi Wheeler, who is the Director of Kids and Family Content at Netflix, Brenda Bisner, who's the Chief Content Officer at Kidoodle TV, and finally, Estelle Lloyd, Co-founder and Chief Operating Officer at Azumi and DaVinci Media. As I said, there'll be a short section for them to answer your questions at the end. So if you have any that you'd like to submit, you can do that via the little pleasingly blue bar with a little face on it at the top of the stream. It's such a little face. And then we will pick a few out and you can ask them at the end of the session. Okay, so first up, we have got Lucy Murphy, Director of Kids Content at Sky. Thanks for joining us, Lucy. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. It's nice to be here. It would have been nicer to be in Sheffield, but this is a very good, close second. So, hello everyone.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, it's nice, and we can also at least wear pajama bottoms halfway down, so that's a treat. Well, thanks for coming here, Lucy. And we just thought we'd start with a very brief overview for anyone. I'm pretty sure everyone watching is aware of Sky Kids, but just in case they aren't, could you give us an overview of the platform and what impact the last exhausting year has had on the kind of content that you were commissioning?
Yes, so Sky is is many things all put together in one place and made easy for people to use. So we are linear channels, we're on demand, we are for children aged 6 months up to 12. And I think it's safe to say that the pandemic has made the kind of flexibility of the way that Sky operates really even more important in terms of being able to give kids and their families what they want to watch, when they want to watch, and how they want to watch. So, I mean, obviously, everything changed the second the pandemic hit, because the question of, we know our audience so well, and we know the kind of shows they watch and when they're watching. And suddenly we had to sort of really change that. So one of the things we did first off was to include a lot more educational content. But we also carried on with releasing all the new shows that we had planned and that we were able to deliver. So we had sort of premium animation shows like Pip and Posy. We had a new series of Morph made by the amazing people at Aardman, called The Epic Adventures of Morph. We quickly commissioned a lot of creative content, knowing that kids were at home. So we had arts and crafts shows like Best Makes Ever for the little ones. And we even got kids making and editing their own video content with ultimate video skills. So it was a time of big change, but actually we were set up to deal with that. We even managed to keep our weekly news show, FYI, going by completely changing the whole production pipeline almost overnight, and we didn't miss a week. So it's been, as you say, an exhausting year, but we got there. And I think one of the I think the big growth for us in terms of different types of programming, we've actually got a clip, I think, to look at of an educational show that we've commissioned, knowing that within the sort of Sky ecosystem, we already had access to fantastically educational content from the BBC, Bite Size, from our partner channels. So we thought, if we're going to make educational content, it needs to be something that is done in a very Sky way and that complements those very curriculum keyed shows that we get from the BBC. So this is a show called Wonder Wraps, and it's a very educational show made by a teacher, presented by a teacher, but in a very, very entertaining way. So here's Wonder Wraps.
Oh no, that's a volcano, and it's about to blow. We've gotta go, run faster, before the floor is lava. Cause when tectonic plates start to separate, the hot magma finds its way. It's coming up surface, where it turns into lava. So get out the way, get out the way. This area isn't safe. Didn't you hear the tectonic plates separated? Look, you see the gases and ashes escaping. I thought it was a cloud, man. You must be joking. It's coming from the fissure because of all the pressure beneath the Earth's surface. Probably then it's a mixture made of minerals and a hot liquid, solid rocks and dissolved gases. Well, what's it called, man? Magma. So back up, because when the pressure stacks up, they become active and warm. Then it happens, boom, eruption, boom, destruction, boom, boom, boom. You better run, kid. Oh no, that's a volcano, and it's about to blow. We've gotta go, run faster, before the floor is lava.
That has been stuck in my head ever since I watched the clip a few days ago in prep for this, and I've every day being like, oh no, here comes a volcano. It's incredible. He must have been a very popular teacher at his school. So you've just described, I mean, obviously in the last year you've adapted, but you had a lot of content, educational, creative things that kids could be part of. Mm-hmm. What kind of show or tone works best for Sky Kids, would you say? And I wondered, this is the secret question that the audience will know, what is your commissioning process for that sort of content?
Well, I think if you look at something like Wonder Wraps, that's a really good example to use. We knew that if we were to commission our own educational content, we would want it to be really premium, really obviously have a very solid educational base, but a real twist on what kids could find on other channels. We knew we wanted to work with Jacob, who is MC Grammar, who you saw there in Wonder Wraps. And in fact, he'd come to us with a production company with a show which didn't quite work, but we worked with them to come up with a format that really ticked all the boxes we needed it to. And in fact, every single episode is one of the topics that kids will follow in Key Stage 2 here in the UK. But it's presented in a really memorable way and that's very repeatable. I think that's a key thing for commissioning for on demand. Shows need to be repeatable, and that one certainly will be. Even if it is an earworm that you don't want to be repeating quite as much. But yes, so in terms of process, we look at things from literally the germ of an idea, like that one was, right up to receiving hundreds of submissions. I'm sure my colleagues on this panel will agree at hundreds of submissions every year, and some of them are literally one sentence ideas, and some of them are fully worked up to Bibles and sizzles and scripts and everything in between. The best way to reach us is through our submissions inbox, which is skykids@sky.uk. And I mean, you go into the sort of inbox, which we do aim to get through within 6 weeks. We don't always manage that because we have so many, but we do aim to get back to everyone that submits through that system as fast as we can.
And so I know you've got a couple of clips of shows that you commissioned recently. I think first up we've got Dodo.
Yeah, this is a show that we're really thrilled. We've launched a couple of weeks ago, and it's an animated show. We know our audience loves animation, and it really epitomises the kind of talent incubation that we like to foster at Sky Kids. I mean, obviously we commission shows that are based on known IP. So this year, a good example of that would have been Pip and Posy, which was a premium animation show from the brilliant people at Magic Light, and based on the work of Axel Scheffler, who's the illustrator of the Gruffalo. But alongside those kind of really big known IP shows, we will also always be looking out for undiscovered gems. And when Jess Cleverly and Miles Bullough at Wildseed brought us Dodo, which at the time was called Not the End of the World, they'd found this amazing talent in Jack Bennett, who was a student at the time, and his student film, believe it or not, was what they brought us. And we just fell in love with the charm of and storytelling, and commissioned a show which follows the life, or it's a year in the life of Joe, who's an 11-year-old and just going to secondary school for the very first time. And every episode is another horror that he comes across that by the end of the episode he realizes is not the end of the world. So here's Dodo.
Lily Scott. She and Joe had shared around 9 words and 3 texts, and ever since Joe had longed for more. And now, here she was.
Ow! Dodo.
Today is the day Joe Connolly and Lily Scott will have a real conversation. They would fall in love, get married, adopt 2 Bichon Frise puppies, and live in a bungalow with a robot butler.
Claudia, fetch us some Jaffa cakes.
I shall not fail you, madam.
By the time the robot butler turns against them, there will be nothing they can't handle together.
Stay here, Doris and Fluff Daddy. Time to take out the recycling.
That's brilliant fun. And we've got another clip as well from, is it Obke?
Yes. So Obke's a really great example of a show. I think Dodo is a good example of a show that we'd commissioned because it complements what we get from our partner channels. And it's very British, as well as representing our audience's lives and experiences. Obke's completely different in terms of being short form. And we know that kids are watching more on demand. They want shows that are funny, and they also, but they do want to learn, and they want to learn in a way that sort of works. And for kids that are using mobile devices, short form is even more appealing. So we commissioned Obke as part of our Sky Zero campaign, which is aiming for carbon neutrality. And it's a series of very short episodes featuring a little alien who in each episode is shown a very simple way to address some of the impacts of climate change. But again, it's working with a fantastic creative team with a really endearing character that's going to make these messages land in a way that kids will remember. So here's Obke.
That's why we have our energy monitor. right? Opky, what have we left on? Well, it's a start. Opky. Nice one, Opky. Now we just need to remember to turn off anything we're not using. What are you looking at? I don't need switching off.
That's brilliant. Right, so the big question is, what are you looking for now, and hopefully, once things change, what kind of content are you looking to commission for the future?
Well, I think we're looking for premium shows for the entire demographic. We do go from very young to 12 years old. So within that, there are very key things that we're looking for. Obviously, this year has had such a huge impact on kids' daily lives. So this week we announced the launch and commission of a lot of new shows to support kids as they go through what has been an incredibly difficult time. So we've just announced a show called Clownbrain, which is featuring Frankie Bridge from the Saturdays, and she uses lots of guests to show kids how to keep their bodies and their minds healthy. And we've also got a lovely new nature series, Dreamflight Calming Stories, which is incredible natural history footage with very calming, soothing narration, and actually that works for all ages. So I think anyone thinking of pitching to us is really, we have drama, we have factual, we have music, and everything in between, really. So the key things for us are it needs to complement and not compete with our partner channels. So if your show looks like a Cartoon Network show, we probably won't commission it because we already have Cartoon Network on the service. And also just to really, really think about the type of, think about the audience, get to know the audience, what's worrying them, what's making them happy, and bring us shows that are going to make kids' lives and their families even better. So, yes, we're sort of open for everything.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Well, thank you. Thank you for your time, Lucy. We will see you at the end for some questions from our delegates, which hopefully all the watchers are sending through now. And next up, we have got Alexi Wheeler, who is Director of Kids and Family Content at Netflix. Hi, Alexi. How are you doing?
Hey, Tiana. I'm good, thanks. How you doing?
Yeah, all right. Thank you. All right. Yeah, so it seems like a strange question. Sorry?
It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you for joining us. And I was going to say, you've got a lovely sort of loft light above you, whereas I've gone for the how do I hide the fact I haven't tidied my room look, which is very clever. I was going to say the first question I'm going to ask is I was going to ask for an overview of Netflix, but I'm pretty sure our audience knows what it is and has become very familiar with it, in particular over the last year, as far as me and all my friends that have children know. But I wonder if you could just tell us about the kids' side of the service and just how the last year has affected and changed what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. I can tell you a bit about the kids' side and also, what we're doing in the UK, because for a long time we kind of managed content out of the US, and as the company grew, we started to make decisions about where we should have offices and where we should be making things. And the UK obviously stuck out as a really important place for producing and a country that's known for making great quality content, like across the board. So it made sense that we started hiring and building out teams here. And, you know, we have the kids and family team based out of here, but we also have our drama teams, our doc teams, and our film teams. And that's all happened pretty quickly. So, you know, 2 or 3 years ago, there weren't really any content people, and that's happened very quickly. And, you know, like last year, we spent about $1 billion in UK production alone, just in 2020 across the board. So, you know, the plan is to be very sort of committed for the long term here. You know, I think the UK is now one of the top 3 production locations globally outside of the US. We film across the country. We're working with a lot of animation studios up and down the country. And we're now sort of building it out and committing to working and nurturing new talent as well. So on most of our shows now, we've put in a really big effort to make sure that we've got new and interesting and diverse talent involved. And we're just starting to piece together sort of more formal pieces of outreach, working with certain partners, working with certain schools and universities to make sure that we're getting the cream of the crop, and just providing space for fresh voices.
That's fascinating. And I wondered, you've got a new show called Shark Dog that I know we've got a little clip of. And if we can have a look at the clip now.
Buddy, you're hard to keep secret, but you're still pretty awesome. What other kid has a shark for a pet?
Wait, did you just eat my fighting fish? Listen, buddy, if you want to stay with me, my parents can never find out, or it's back to the beach for you. Think you can hide in my closet for now? Trust me, everything's gonna be just fine. As long as you stay here and keep out of sight, and then no one has to know, and we can be friends forever. This room! No!
That will definitely connect with a lot of people who got pets over lockdown, I think. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about Shark Dog and what the commissioning process was for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Shark Dog actually comes from Nickelodeon. It was developed by the international team there who are based out of London. It was a project I was aware of, having spent some time at Nickelodeon before I joined Netflix. And we were looking for certain types of comedy comedy content, and we thought this really nailed a lot of those elements of what we're looking for. You know, it's physical, it's fun, it's full of a lot of heart. You know, even the title really stands out. You just know exactly what you're going to get, and that character is adorable. So we spent some time talking to Nickelodeon about how this might work. You know, it originally been developed as much shorter form content. I think they were 2-minuters. We decided that sort of 7-minute episodes would work really well for this, and we just got moving really quickly. You know, we committed really quickly. We know that Nickelodeon can deliver us a great show, so we didn't have to be too hands-on, and they've done a great job. And this one's launching in September this year, so coming onto Netflix then.
And how important are sort of global rights for a show like that? Is that another key aspect to what you're commissioning at Netflix?
It kind of varies, you know. So when we're an originals team, so we get involved really early on. You can come and develop projects with us. You can come with something like at the super early stage, and we'll work with you on that. And it does really vary depending on what people want to do with their content. If they've got other ideas, if they want to hold on to certain rights and do certain things with them, consumer products, for example, they might want to control that. So there is some flex in there. It sort of really depends on their needs and how much money we're putting in and how we balance that. But there are a ton of different ways of working with us.
And what are you looking to commission going forward from the last year? Is there anything in particular that you're now looking for? You know, now that we can sort of live actions possibly easier, well, hopefully will be easier to film in the future. Is that something that you're going to change to more of, things like that?
You know, I don't think we'll change. Last year we were in a really good position to be able to like work closely with the producers we were involved in. You know, we were working on a show called Zero Chill with Lime, which was actually filmed in Sheffield, so we kept it really local. And we worked with them, and we worked with our HR production people to make sure that they were able to shoot safely and give them that support. And, you know, some of that does involve increasing production budgets, for instance, but we were able to do that, you know, and make sure they were supported and looked after to make sure we got the best show. And the same happened with Aardman. We were working on a stop motion show of all things last year. Stop motion is something you can't really do from home. So we had to work with them to understand how we would do that. And ultimately it worked and it paid off. So, yeah. we got there. But the whole point was that we were able to just mobilize very quickly, really actively work with our partners to make sure that they were supported and felt looked after, and really like turned it into a team effort. We didn't really shut things down. We just tried to keep going where we could, paused things where we needed to, moved schedules and release dates if we had to. But the main thing is that everyone was safe, the crews were looked after, and we still were able to deliver some great content. And I don't think we'll change. I think, we'll just keep going. We'll still stick to our guns on the types of thing we want, which is very broad. We're looking at stuff from preschool right up to 12, 13, animated and live action. We're playing around with formats a little bit some of the time, sometimes kids do want to see things in the shorter form. We don't always need massive orders of sort of 5211s, because in the on-demand space, viewing habits are slightly different. So often seasons of 10s and 20s work really well for us. And we find that kids will watch those and enjoy them. And the aim is for this content to be timeless and high quality, so they want to watch it again and again.
Yeah, I've definitely learned from my daughter that she will happily watch the same 10 episodes on loop all day long. So that is definitely something kids love.
I've been there.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, thank you for your time, Alexi. And just if you're watching, if you've got any questions that you'd like to ask Alexi, Lucy, or our next two guests, don't forget to submit them via the link at the top of the screen. Right, our third commissioner this afternoon is Brenda Bisner, who is Chief Content Officer at safe streaming platform Kidoodle. Just before we talk to Brenda, hi Brenda, here is a reel to tell you all about Kidoodle.
Kidoodle TV is a family-centric, safe streaming service for kids. With over 25,000 episodes of the world's favorite kids' entertainment and educational shows. Kidoodle TV offers something every family wants, handpicked by caring people, safe and free. Stream Kidoodle TV on your device of choice. Download the app and start watching for free today. Join our family and find peace of mind knowing your kids are safe streaming.
Hi Brenda,
Hold on,
how
I'm
are
just-
you all the way from sunny New York?
Yeah, right, exactly. Hi, thank you for having me. It's always a privilege to be at CMC. It's one of my favorite conferences of the year.
Well, it is great that you could be here today. And I thought if you want to, you could just start by telling us all about Kidoodle, and same as with the other guests, just how the last year has kind of affected what you've been doing with the platform.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're about a 90% AVOD driven business, right? And it's, March of last year when everything shut down, it was all hands on deck. We serve as a safe alternative to a lot of other services out there. And when teachers were sending kids to a place that parents weren't so happy about, it was a lot of collection of that kind of content and putting it into Kidoodle TV, where parents could trust that it would be safe, vetted from our process that we put everything through. We do own the word safe streaming, and we take it very seriously. We adhere to the highest letter of the law when it comes to keeping kids safe online. And we have always held that as a very core value for our business, as well as co-viewing. Some of the things that we do to make sure that our shows are indeed safe, are a very extensive QA process. So it starts with me and the team here, and then it goes into our QA division that watches every single second to ensure that there's nothing that, mimics what's here on the screen, the product giveaways, the bullying, the profanity, any sort of social media call outs, anything negative, really. And that goes into our advertising part as well, because we are an advertising-based channel. Every single advert that we show on the channel is also viewed by humans, and they're all around the globe. And we're passing millions of ads per day. We have one of the largest advertising businesses out there, and have really extraordinary partnerships with some of the major advertisers, agencies, DSPs, SSPs all around the world, which helps really drive our experience, which is by far one of the best in the business. So when you're on our channel, all of our shows are curated. Parents know that their children can be safe within the ecosystem. There's no barrier to entry. And of course, our adverts are not just jammed into a show, damaging the integrity of that content, but rather specifically placed in different areas. And we do a lot of different fun advertising installations as well for our partners. So, for us, it's looking at the great content that exists in the world, how we can align with our partners to really bring that show to our audience in a meaningful way that makes sense. And, our audience is very much split 50-50. And we know we're very in touch with who we're serving, and we do a lot of research and testing around it. We just released our latest white paper actually in the press recently, talking about, what our audience was looking for, what parents cared about. Just to kind of go back with working with our partners, one thing we always say is it's not about slapping a show on the channel, right? It's always looking at how can we align with this brand? What does this brand represent for our audience? What are they trying to achieve? And how can we work with them to bring that show in a bigger way? We're connected TV focused. So we're Roku, Apple TV, Vizio, Samsung, doing a major campaign with Vizio on all packaging and in store at all Targets, and Samsung being built into the televisions. And, what are those advertising opportunities that we can tap into to help elevate different brands? Because it's a lot of great big brands like the Peppas of the world, the Paw Patrols of the world, the Kids Dianas, all kinds of content for kids under 12, right? We serve a lot of hungry kids in 160 countries. But what can we do to really work with that brand to align in a larger way to make it more meaningful for our audience, knowing that 97% of our audience is co-viewing. And that's something that we knew prior to COVID, and we know certainly in this weird sort of limbo post-COVID-ish place that we are now existing is still very much the case. And we know, basically what our audience is looking for, and that's great content. They're looking for a good experience. It's not going to have adverts that are not inappropriate for their children. We also offer an option if they don't ever want their children to see adverts. Parents can decide to do the freemium model or the SVOD model, which is a very small percentage of our business. And just know that they're going to have a great experience watching the channel. And that's my overview in 3 minutes or less. No pressure.
That's fantastic. That's brilliant. It's amazing. Co-viewing is so important. It's again something I've sort of recently learned the last 3 years of watching my daughter, that shows that I can put up with while watching them with her are so much, it just makes such an absolutely massive difference. So thank you for that, Brenda. And I wonder if you could just give us a hint then at what sort of content you're looking at for the future, maybe as we kind of escape the last 16 months of weirdness, hopefully. What are you looking to put on the platform next?
Yeah, we're always looking at meaningful partnerships that are going to not only just be good for us as companies, but good for our families all around the world. And when we're looking at this AVOD space and this massive AVOD land grab that's going on at the moment, and everybody trying to put their content anywhere they can, we've proven and we continue to be one of the most meaningful AVOD revenue streams, and we act as a new revenue stream. So when we're looking at content, it's important that it's completed, that we know what's there, that it's something that has brand recognition, because that's when we get to have a lot of fun. But there's also great diamonds in the rough that come onto the channel and just soar to success out of nowhere. And those are really fun to play with as well. So, for us, we're always looking at everything all the time, because again, we serve kids under 12, and that's broken down into themes and age demographics very specifically. But we're always interested in partnerships that care about what we're doing, that have been to our channel, have seen what we're doing, and can really look at how their brand could live there in a way that's different than everywhere else, right? So that could be from an exclusive of a new series, something that we can look at that is a package of content for a specific period of time, something different. Because just having all the same stuff everywhere is great to some extent, but what does it mean to have the partnership with us and that partner for that brand? And some great examples of that are the extraordinary relationship we have with, the Peppa Pig brand, with Paw Patrol, with True and the Rainbow Kingdom, which, we complement a lot of other services that may be SVOD driven and families who struggle with budgetary constraints to have access. So we drive as a really great brand awareness platform, as well as a great way to get kids the content that people work so hard to make here.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time, Brenda, and we will see you in a few minutes at the end for questions from the audience. And lastly, by no means leastly, we have Estelle Lloyd, the co-founder and chief operating officer at Azumi and DaVinci Media. But just as we meet Estelle, here you go. We've got a little clip all about the Macadamia platform. Hey Estelle, how are you?
Hello. Everybody should be awake by now with this soundtrack.
It's brilliant. It's so catchy, isn't it? It's fantastic. So yeah, just let's start with if you could tell us all about Azumi and Macadamia, and again how the last year has been for you and the platform.
So yes, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to take part of CMC, and wish to be there in person next year. But lovely to be here today. So yes, a lot has happened in the last year. First of all, Macadamia is our top co-brand. It is not a platform in itself, but it is essentially our top co-brand that essentially manages DaVinci and Azumi, two separate platforms. And just to remind, the two platforms have been around for a while, but Azumi is our brand for under 6. It's predominantly an SVOD app. DaVinci Kids is for older kids 6+, and exists as a linear channels as well as a SVOD app. The SVOD app was launched in September last year, and DaVinci was actually an acquisition that my company Azumi made at the end of 2019, and I did mean it when I said it's been a busy year. We have essentially integrated two separate teams into one, launched the SVOD app for DaVinci, increased the number of our partners from about 250 partners when we made the acquisition to over 330 now. So yes, it's been a bit of a crazy year, and the reason really, Tiernan, is the educational aspect of our products, and the attraction of that during the period of COVID, particularly with home learning. So education is very much part of our DNA. It's always been, and now more than ever. We're delivering learning in multiple formats. We've got a huge library of premium video content, and also a library of about 100+ games. And we have all of that dubbed, localized in 21 languages. We operate in about 125 countries. And our mission is to help parents raise exceptional humans. So of this, we deliver that through a lot of amazing partnerships with some of the most amazing, brands, companies out there at the moment who really care to give their parents, customers, a very differentiated educational proposition for their kids. They work very closely with us. They help on the promotion of the two channels, two apps, but they also send us a lot of feedback on what's working really well and what's working less well. So we do get a lot of feedback from them. They include mostly telcos and device manufacturers. We just recently announced a global partnership with Huawei, which is taking us globally in all of their markets. And across all of this, we've got an audience of 60 million kids and families watching the channel or being on the app at any one time, either on Azumi or on DaVinci. What we look for is obviously content that is educational. We license a lot of content of our own content, particularly the long form content is most of it licensed. We don't really produce any long form, but we do tend to produce ourselves or commission and co-produce a lot of short form content. And that's particularly on topics such as arts and crafts, technology, or social emotional learning. For example, digital literacy, which is a big topic that we've covered since the very beginning. I think now would be a good time to show a short clip of a recent co-production that we've done. And the reason why we've done it is because we always look for niche programming that is aligned with the curriculum, but that haven't been covered yet, either very well or not at all. And the one that we're about to see is a short clip of a new series called Smorf. It's actually called Electricity with Smorf. And the reason we made it is because that's a topic, it's an example of a topic that's not really covered very well. And a lot of kids teachers are looking for this type of content can't really find it. We are not experts on that topic ourselves, so we partner with a brand that has been producing kits for kids to do at home for many years, and we decided to work with them because they're really passionate about this topic. They really, really understand it. They know how kids react, the learning areas. They've got a full curriculum sitting behind it, and that was the reason why we partnered with them. So if we can look at it now, and then I'll tell you a little bit more about what we're looking for in the future.
Conductivity.
Yeah.
Yum. Ouch! You okay, Smurf? Using a fork to pull toast out of the toaster is super dangerous. Do you know why you got shocked?
Poor Smurf. That's fantastic. So, yeah, if you could let us know, what are you doing next? What are you hoping to commission in the near future? What are you looking for?
Sure. So something like electricity with Smurf obviously sits very firmly into our STEM portfolio and curriculum, alongside series like Do You Know, or Bits and Bobs, or Operation Ouch, or Odd Squad, for example. I would say the three areas now where we are looking to continue co-producing, commissioning are, again, arts and crafts, which we feel is a space that has been covered, but there are some niche aspects of arts and crafts that we are still very interested in covering. Technology, again, is a huge, huge space for us, and particularly short form content on technology. It is difficult to tell parents, look, your kids will, the jobs that exist today won't exist when your kids will be on the job market. It's very difficult to get the parents on board with this idea if they don't themselves understand what coding is about, for example. So we actually see a lot of co-viewing and co-playing of our games on our platform, because parents do get to understand what aspects of technology that are important for their kids to really learn and understand. That would be another one. And then there's a lot of really niche topics that are of particular interest to us right now. Financial literacy is one of them. We're looking for experts, passionate people that really understand the space, preferably having produced something like a product or a game already that we can take and then expand on, again, by producing probably some short form content around it. And then the whole social emotional learning space is so important right now. It's understanding. It is helping kids understand that it's okay not to be okay sometimes, and really finding ways to help them through this really difficult time that they have been going on as well. So yes, I mean, in terms of contacting us, we've got a website. Please come to us, come to me on LinkedIn and connect with me. And then I'm looking forward to exploring, lots of different ideas.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Estelle. There's a lot for the watchers to go on there. That's brilliant. So much of this content I think would be good for adults too. We need stuff that's okay not to be okay. All the mindfulness stuff mentioned earlier. That would be more of that for adults too. Right. We've had a few questions sent in from the audience. So if we get all our panelists back. Right, and first up, actually, this one is just for Alexi. It's been sent by Daniel, and he has asked, can we pitch projects to Alexi's team, and if so, how?
You can just get in touch with us. We're quite easy to track down on LinkedIn and other things, but definitely just come directly to us, and we're always happy to speak to people about their projects. It's quite good to have a bit of an intro and maybe talk them around the types of things that we're looking for more specifically, and just to sort of get their head around the kids' experience on Netflix and just help them to understand like a little bit more of the focus and what our wants and needs are. But you can come to us directly. We have no problem with people reaching out. Just be a little patient with us. We obviously receive quite a lot of emails and correspondence.
You're now going to have about 400 LinkedIn messages as soon as this finishes. So the next question we have got, it's been sent in by Anonymous. This said, I don't know if any of you saw the debate that happened earlier today on the Children's Media Conference. There was a debate on the future of public service media. And this person has asked, what, if any, public service obligations do you consider your VOD platform to have, whether for educational or non-fiction content or for UK cultural representation or however you choose to define it? Do you feel that you are different from services like BBC, ITV or Channel 4? Who would like to start with that one? Lucy?
Yeah, happy to start with that one. I think it's interesting. You know, there seems to be this idea that there's a big divide between PSBs and commercial. But I think, you know, if you look at Sky, we have just such a deep commitment to creating quality programming. We make news, we make current affairs, we make documentaries, we make educational shows, but we're not considered a PSB. But we do profoundly believe that we should be making shows that answer to kids' questions and give them support, and particularly in the way that we're going through the most unbelievable time that has stripped away so many of the things that kids take for granted, like going to school and seeing their friends and knowing when they're next going to see their granny. You know, so to be able to support kids in that way is really important. And just because we're not sort of labelled a PSB doesn't mean we don't make PSB content.
Estelle, you just had your hand up there as well. Do you want to answer that one?
Yeah,
too?
no, I completely agree with Lucy. I think for us, the way that we build our program, our curation, the way how we create our content is really so specifically international and global but as a result, it does become very diverse. We take shows from all over the world, and it's just a big representation of what the world is, and I think that is so important today.
Well, last question, and I'll send this one to you, Brenda. This is from Alex, and they have asked on the back of that question, would it be good if your platforms could access projects funded by the YAC fund? They say currently I think projects are only eligible if they're intended for public service broadcasters, but would it be good if in the future you could be funded as well?
I mean, yeah, we want to see everything all the time. Yes. We want people to make great content. We want to bring it to kids all around the world. Yes, absolutely. We're huge supporters of great talent bringing great content. So yes.
Yeah, that was all nodding of heads. I was going to ask if anyone else wanted to mention anything on that, but you've all nodded your head, so that's a yes, Alex, I think. Definitely. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much to our panellists for your time and for joining us for this session. Can also give a thank you to the tech team, who are the geniuses making this all go very smoothly. Thank you for watching. And of course, thank you to our sponsors for this session, 9 Story. Next on the CMC live stream is the brilliant pitch competition, Put Your Money Where Your Mouth Is, which is like Dragon's Den meets Supermarket Sweep, but if supermarkets were filled with pitches, I think. That's at 4 p.m. I'm definitely going to be watching that one. And before we go, a lot of you will know that this morning, as we just mentioned, we had a PSB debate and we voted on a number of questions. And the results of those questions are now in, so I'll just read them out to you. The question, do we even need public service media for kids? And 91% disagree that kids are living through a golden age of children's media and the commercial market shows that it provides for all their needs. The second question was, how would we pay for public service media? A cultural tax on larger platforms is the best way to bring additional funding into the production of UK-originated children's media, and 89% agree. And lastly, how do we make sure children have access to public service media? It has to be available in the places children go to when they want to access media content, which means it has to be available on commercial platforms and pay services as well as the BBC, and 96% agree. Right. Finally, Here is the change maker for this session, Matteo Salvato, who is making a difference for people with disabilities worldwide. Sit back and enjoy this. He is really impressive, and I'm sure we're going to be hearing a lot more from him in years to come. Thanks very much. Bye.
Hello CMC, hi friends from all around the world. This is Matteo Salvato. I'm 22 years old and I'm speaking to you from Buenos Aires, the capital city of Argentina, the country where I was born and grew up in. I'm really glad to be here today with you and be able to share some thoughts and ideas on how us young people can use the advantages of technology to help make this world a better place. I guess the best way to do this is by sharing my personal life story that, as you may guess, it's not too long. It's 22 years long, so it's pretty brief. But I'm sure that through this life story that has things related to entrepreneurship, innovation, technology, social impact, disability, and much more, we will be able, no matter where you're from, what's your age, or what you do for a living, to build some bridges that will connect us and help us see how we can collaborate into making the world a better place and using the advantages of technology to our self-advantage as a species. So I grew up loving technology since I was a little kid. I still am, but when I was literally a little kid, when I was 4 or 5, I always said that my dream was to work at NASA as an engineer. When you would ask me when I was 4 or 5 years old what changing the world meant, I would always picture a satellite going to space or people descending into Mars, robots and those kind of stuff. My dream was always to work at this kind of organizations and help make the humanity a multiplanetary species. So I grew up, as I was telling you, loving technology, but also at the same time, I grew up surrounded by disability. My mom is and has been a teacher for deaf people for the last 35 years. So as you may guess, I grew up watching deaf kids suffer to perform activities that for me were daily and easy stuff, and probably for you too. I don't know, asking directions on the street, or going to a restaurant, or I don't know, taking a bus or a plane. Things that probably for you and me are easy, for them were almost impossible. And I just couldn't figure it out. I thought, as a technology fan, I thought, how do we have time to put a rover on Mars and make it send pictures in real time to Earth, but a deaf person cannot report a crime? It just didn't make any sense for me. So I decided to use my own hands and produce something that would help all my deaf friends that I made during the years. So when I finished high school, I always had my head into the most, difficult somehow parts of technology, or more applied parts of technology, as robotics and rocketry and physics and all electronics and that stuff. But then when I finished high school, I said, why don't we use this to help people? So that's how I wanted to code something that would help my mom's students, that were also, of course, my friends. So I started coding, and that's how Háblalo was born. Háblalo would be, in English, would be like to speak up. And the idea was to produce a little mobile app that would help my deaf friends communicate, translate in real time things that their phones heard around them, and help them communicate with their surroundings, right? It was a little project, a little homemade project that I wanted to do in my summer break when I finished high school, before starting the university, engineering, of course. And that little project grew huge in no time. 4 years from then, Háblalo is one of the top five most used apps in the disability spectrum in the world. We help around 200,000 disabled people from 57 countries in the 5 continents entirely for free. We were selected by the Peking University as the best social innovation worldwide, and MIT as a humanitarian innovation of the year, and much more. We are not only helping deaf people, but also people with cerebral palsy, ALS, autism, aphasias, and many other disabilities that affect particularly communication. From that little project, I built a startup that's called Asteroid Technologies, of course, related to space. It doesn't have anything to do with disabilities asteroid, but I just love space, so that's it. Asteroid Technologies, we are 10 people now, and we work in Háblalo and other technologies that impact life quality of people with disabilities. We work with huge companies. Like our business model briefly is we bring the responsibility of including to companies and governments. So they're the ones who pay for our product for organizations that allows all kinds of organizations to provide face-to-face services to their clients and make them inclusive with a tailor-made version of our app that's exactly made for their needs and requirements. So for example, the Santander Bank in Argentina uses our app to provide services to their clients, also governments, Samsung, the Remax real estate company, and many others in the region. But okay, I don't want to use these 10 minutes to talk about myself. I want to tell you what was the biggest mindset change that I got from building a startup and helping people, and now running this company that helps almost 200,000 people for free in the world, right? And the biggest thing that changed here was the concept of changing the world. Remember that I told you that for me, changing the world looked like a rocket or a satellite orbiting the Earth, right? But now, changing the world looks more like a kid with cerebral palsy buying a sandwich for the first time using our app, or a girl with ALS being a teacher in a university using our app, or a dad being able to do homework with his kid that he couldn't do before because he has ALS, using our app entirely for free, right? But not only our app. Now I see that changing the world looks more like these little things as Háblalo, but as many others around the world that people produce, that maybe not very famous people, not very acknowledged people, but that they produce and enables humans to have a better life quality, right? And if that is changing the world, if a little app as mine, imagine what you can do, what any of us can do, living in the most connected moment of our species, in the biggest and most exciting moment in the history of humanity, right? When we can access almost any information we want and produce almost anything we want to help others. There's a ton that media can do to spread the word and the importance of building a more diverse and inclusive world, of showing people with disabilities and putting the people before the disability, right? Not talking about disability, talking about people, that we are all the same and we deserve to live as the same, as humans that we are, right? So the time has come. We, the young people, are the future of our species. In our hands, not only of my generation, but all of us living this moment, is the fate of this community and how it will be impacted by technology and new social cultural standards, right? But we cannot do it on our own. Young people cannot do it on our own. We need the grown-ups to help, and the massive media's help to navigate the right path. We need you. We need you to showcase solutions and issues that we have to solve, right? And changing the world is coding a solution, but also showing it to the world. So this is my invitation from you, from Buenos Aires, from Latin America, to participate, to help, to visibilize, to include, and to show the future that our generation could do it.